Tonight we will move slowly through quiet, animated neighborhoods and small towns. Places painted to feel like rooms you can rest inside. Let yourself settle into that thought. These are spaces made of color and gentle line. Places where you might imagine pausing, staying a while. There is no rush here. There is only the invitation to look softly, to let your eyes wander without effort or destination. Breathe now. Let the breath come slowly. Let the idea settle around you like a blanket. This hour and a half is calm observation. Nothing more. Not story. Not tension. Only the slow unfolding of quiet places. Only the chance to rest your attention on something soft and familiar. You are safe here. You are welcome to simply be still. We begin with streets sketched in soft pencil lines, with warm apartment windows glowing gently against evening air. Picture Hey Arnold's hand-drawn blocks. Those streets where every surface carries the texture of layered pencil strokes. You can almost feel the grain of the paper beneath the color. The lines are soft, never sharp or sudden. They wrap around stoops and fire escapes the way a quilt might wrap around your shoulders. Warm gradients, oranges blending into ambers, ambers softening into pale yellows. These colors move across brick and concrete with such gentleness. Everything here is touched by a familiar hush. The buildings lean close together. The shadows pool in doorways. Fire escapes zigzag upward in slow repetition. Metal painted with care, each railing and step holding its place in the quietness. You could rest your eyes on any corner of this world and find something warm waiting there. And now the colors shift, blending into Townsville's pastel blues and greens. Imagine those shades, soft as morning light through curtains. Blues that are barely blue, almost white, almost gray. Greens that whisper rather than shout. These colors fold themselves around park benches and rounded rooftops, around lampposts and sidewalks, creating shapes that feel like gentle punctuation marks. Comma here, an ellipsis there. The world pauses. The world breathes. Rooftops curve softly against the sky. Trees are drawn with simple circles. Clouds of green that bob gently in some unfelt breeze. Everything is rounded. Everything is soft at the edges. There are no hard corners to catch your eye. No sharp angles to pull you from your rest. Just color melting into color. Shapes settling beside other shapes. All of it arranged with such care that your gaze can drift without effort. Let yourself move now into Studio Ghibli fields. Into those wide open spaces painted in soft blues and greens and golds. These are colors that seem to hold light within them. The blue of a summer sky just before dusk. The green of grass that has grown tall and unbothered. The gold of sunlight filtering through leaves, pooling in patches on the ground. These fields invite slow attention. They ask nothing of you except to notice them gently. A blade of grass bends. A cloud passes overhead with no hurry at all. The horizon stretches out, soft and hazy, blurring the line between earth and sky. You could watch these fields for hours and see only the smallest changes. The way light shifts across a hillside. The way wind moves through wheat or wildflowers. There is no urgency. There is only the quiet presence of growing things, of open space, of air that feels clean and unhurried. And then the light changes again, becomes golden, becomes the specific warmth of an afternoon that lingers. Picture early Pokemon towns bathing in that glow. Everything touched by amber light. Fences painted white or pale blue, casting soft shadows on dusty paths. Rooftops repeating their shapes, red tiles or gray shingles, each one the same as the last. A rhythm like breathing. These towns feel like memory. They feel like a place you visited once in childhood, or perhaps only dreamed of. The streets are quiet. The houses sit close together but not too close. Windows reflect the golden light. Somewhere a chimney releases a thin trail of smoke. The smoke rises slowly, dissolving into sky, and everywhere, that same gentle repetition. Fence after fence, rooftop after rooftop. The patterns hold you. They let your mind rest on something predictable, something steady. These worlds we are moving through, they are shaped so the eye can rest on color and line rather than hurry. They are made with intention, every shade chosen carefully, every edge softened just enough. The pencil strokes visible in one place, the pastel washes blending seamlessly in another, the golden light holding everything in its warm embrace. These are not worlds that demand your attention. They offer it gently. They wait for you to arrive at your own pace. And when you do arrive, when you let yourself settle into the quiet of these animated neighborhoods and small towns, you find that there is nothing you need to do, nothing to solve, nothing to chase. Only this, the soft presence of color, the gentle repetition of line, the slow unfolding of spaces made to feel like rest itself. Breathe again. Let your eyes soften. Let these painted worlds hold you. Move gently now into suburban corners, into the places where fences meet grass and windows catch the afternoon sun. Let yourself drift there slowly. These are spaces built from repetition and warmth, from the comfort of knowing what comes next. Picture Rugrats' backyard fences. Those wooden slats painted in soft browns and weathered grays. They stand in gentle rows, separating one yard from another, creating boundaries that feel safe rather than confining. Sunlit windows glow behind them, squares of yellow light that suggest someone is home, someone is near. These windows loop softly through the neighborhood, appearing again and again, each one the same size, the same shape, the same reassuring warmth. They create a pocket of safety. You can feel it as you look. The fences are not too tall. The yards are not too large. Everything is scaled to a child's understanding of distance, to that feeling of being held within something manageable and kind. A tricycle rests on its side in the grass. A garden hose coils beside a porch step. These small details repeat from yard to yard, familiar objects in familiar places, and the repetition itself becomes a kind of lullaby. You know what you will see around the next corner. You know the world will stay gentle. Now the scene shifts, opens outward into recessed playgrounds. Here the colors deepen into earth tones, browns and tans and soft oranges. The playground equipment is painted in these warm shades. Swings and slides and jungle gyms all rendered in colors that belong to the ground itself. Wide paths stretch across blacktop and dirt, paths with no particular destination. They encourage wandering at low speed. There is no rush to reach the swings, no hurry to claim the best spot. The paths simply exist, inviting you to move along them, to take your time. The playground feels vast but not overwhelming. It feels open but not empty. Children's voices might echo somewhere in the distance, but softly, always softly. The sun is warm without being harsh. Shadows pool beneath the equipment, gentle gray shapes that offer relief from brightness. You could walk these paths for hours, circling the same structures, passing the same benches, and each time the route would feel just as peaceful as the last. Let yourself be drawn now into Dexter's tidy suburban lanes. These are streets where everything is arranged with careful precision. Lawns trimmed to the same height, hedges shaped into neat rectangles, driveways that run parallel to one another, each one the mirror of the next. The houses sit in orderly rows, painted in pale colors, cream and light gray and soft blue. But what makes these lanes truly restful is the way light and shadow work together. Subtle shadow gradients fall across sidewalks and garage doors. A tree casts its shade in layers, darker near the trunk, lighter as it reaches toward the edges. Porch lights glow with a steady warmth. Not too bright, just enough to mark each entrance with a welcoming presence. These lights make something clear. Whatever extraordinary things might exist below the surface, whatever secret laboratories or hidden inventions might wait beneath these ordinary homes. Here above ground, everything feels comfortably ordinary. The lanes hold their secrets quietly. The shadows do not darken too much. The light does not reveal more than it should. You can walk here and feel only the steady comfort of routine, of sameness, of a world that stays predictable and calm. And now we descend into a different kind of neighborhood entirely. We sink slowly into SpongeBob's Bikini Bottom, into those underwater reefs where everything moves at the pace of water itself. Picture pastel coral clusters rising from the seafloor, pinks and purples and soft yellows. They grow in gentle mounds, in branching shapes that reach upward but never urgently. Between them, swaying kelp, long ribbons of green and brown that move with the current, bending, straightening, bending again. The motion is hypnotic. It asks nothing of you. The kelp sways. The water hums with slow motion. Every movement here is softened by the weight of the ocean. Every sound muffled into something distant and dreamlike. Bubbles rise in lazy spirals. Fish drift past without hurry. The light filters down from above, turning everything hazy and soft, bathing the reefs in a glow that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Small market stalls appear among the coral, structures built from driftwood and shells. Seashell banners hang above them, strung together on strands of kelp, swaying gently with that same underwater rhythm. These stalls offer their wares quietly. There is no shouting, no urgency. The commerce here is calm. A vendor arranges colorful bottles on a makeshift shelf. Another stacks cans in a pyramid that wobbles slightly but never falls. Customers drift from stall to stall, moving through the water with slow fin kicks, browsing without rush. The banners drift overhead, shells clicking softly against one another. A sound like wind chimes heard from far away. Everything here exists in soft suspension. Nothing drops quickly. Nothing startles. The market is just another part of the reef, another place where life moves gently, where the world hums at a frequency designed for rest. Breathe with the rhythm of the kelp. Let yourself sway gently. Feel the safety of these suburban corners, these underwater neighborhoods, these places where fences and playgrounds and market stalls all whisper the same quiet truth. You are held. You are safe. You can let go. Turn inward now to rooms and stoops, to the places where people live their smallest, quietest lives. Let yourself move from the street into the threshold, from the threshold into the warmth within. These are spaces measured in lamplight and texture, in the objects that gather around us when we come home. Picture Hillwood Apartments, those buildings sketched with such care. The windows glow amber, a color like honey held up to light. Each window is its own small world, its own suggestion of life unfolding gently behind glass. The bricks are rendered in soft pencil strokes, layer upon layer of gray and brown, lines that don't quite connect, gaps that let you see the texture of the drawing itself. These bricks are not hard or cold. They are soft. They are welcoming. They hold the warmth of all the lives they contain. On the stoops, potted plants, geraniums maybe, or something simple and hardy. Their leaves are drawn with quick strokes, their pots sitting at angles that suggest someone placed them there without fuss, without the need for perfection. The plants are alive. They are cared for. They mark these stoops as places where people pause, where they sit on summer evenings or spring mornings, where they watch the street and breathe the outside air before stepping back inside. Above, laundry lines stretch from window to window, from fire escape to fire escape. Clothes hang in soft shapes, shirts and towels and small garments swaying slightly in some unfelt breeze. They are painted in muted colors, faded blues and grays and whites. The laundry lines speak of routine, of washing and hanging and waiting, of Tuesdays that feel like every other Tuesday, of the gentle repetition of keeping a home. And those faint glowing windows, look at them again. Each one holds the suggestion of a family moment. A table set for dinner, a lamp turned on as daylight fades, someone moving past the window, just a shadow, just a hint of presence. These windows read like memory, like the feeling of knowing that somewhere, in all these stacked apartments, people are living their ordinary lives. They are eating together. They are talking quietly. They are simply being. And that knowledge, that sense of life continuing gently all around you, it wraps the building in comfort. It makes the whole structure feel less like brick and mortar and more like a collection of safe, familiar moments. Step inside now. Move into Rugrats' living rooms, into those spaces bathed in lamplight. The light here is warm, almost orange, the kind of light that comes from bulbs that have been on for hours. It pools on surfaces. It climbs partway up walls and stops, leaving the upper corners in soft shadow. Patterned rugs sprawl across wooden floors, geometric shapes in reds and blues and creams, designs that your eye can follow without thinking. The rugs are worn in places. They have been walked on. They have held the weight of family life. Quiet furniture shapes the room into a cocoon. A sofa with cushions that sag slightly in the middle. An armchair angled toward a television. A coffee table holding a forgotten cup. A folded newspaper. Reading glasses resting on top. This furniture is not new. It is not chosen for style. It is simply there, doing its work, creating places to sit, to rest, to be together without effort. The shapes are soft. The colors are gentle. Browns and tans and muted greens. Everything in this room invites you to settle, to curl up, to let the lamplight hold you while the evening passes slowly outside the windows. Move deeper still, into kitchens, into those rooms where warmth means something even more specific. Imagine a countertop with a few dishes stacked beside the sink, a dish towel draped over the oven handle, and there, on that counter, warm mugs, 2 of them perhaps, or 3, still holding the remnants of tea or cocoa. The steam has long since faded, but you can almost see where it was, can almost feel the heat they once held. These mugs speak of someone pausing, of someone taking time to make something warm, to wrap their hands around ceramic and breathe in steam and let their shoulders drop. The kitchen light is softer than you'd expect. Not the bright fluorescence of work and hurry, but something gentler. Maybe the overhead light is off and only the stove light glows. Or maybe it's late enough that the room is lit by a small lamp on the counter. Something that shouldn't be in a kitchen at all but has found its way there because someone needed its warmth. And then, a single bedside lamp. Follow the light there, into the bedroom where day ends and night begins. The lamp sits on a nightstand, a simple table holding simple things. The lamp itself is unremarkable. A ceramic base, a fabric shade in cream or pale yellow. But its light is everything. It makes a small circle of brightness. It reaches just far enough to illuminate the edge of a pillow, the corner of a book left open, the curve of a blanket pulled back and waiting. This lamp, this quiet object, tells a story of ordinary evenings, of someone reading a few pages before sleep, of someone checking the time one last time, of someone simply wanting a gentle light to guide them through the last moments of waking. The lamp knows the rhythm of this room. It knows when to turn on and when to turn off. It is part of the slow routine that makes interiors feel restful and known. These rooms, These stoops and windows and lamps and mugs, they are not dramatic. They are not meant to impress. They are simply places where life happens slowly, where routines repeat until they become comfort, where objects gather meaning through use and presence, where the amber glow of a window or the soft sprawl of a patterned rug can hold an entire feeling, an entire sense of home. Breathe here. Rest in these interiors. Let them wrap around you like the lamplight wraps around furniture. You are inside now. You are safe. You are known. Notice repetition now. Notice how it becomes comfort. How the same shape appearing again and again does not bore but soothes. How pattern is not monotony but a kind of gentle promise. A whisper that says, "You know this place. You are safe here. Nothing will shift too suddenly beneath your feet." Look at the reused sidewalks in Hey Arnold. Those same concrete paths appearing block after block. The cracks are identical. The texture of the pencil work repeats in the same rhythm. A fire hydrant stands on one corner, and then 3 blocks later, there it is again. The same fire hydrant, or perhaps just drawn from the same memory. The same careful hand. These sidewalks become reliable paths. Your eye learns them. Your mind stops questioning where they lead because it already knows. This is the route to school. This is the way home. This is the path walked 100 times, 1,000 times, until walking it requires no thought at all. Only the quiet pleasure of recognition. And bridges. Those metal bridges that arch over streets and vacant lots. You see one. Its green paint and riveted beams. Its shadow falling in consistent stripes across the ground below. Then later, another bridge? Or is it the same one? Does it matter? The repetition tells you that this world has structure. That certain elements return. That you can count on seeing that particular arch. That specific pattern of shadow and light each time you pass through this neighborhood. The bridges are landmarks. They are rhythms. They mark distance not in measurements but in the comfort of seeing something familiar appear right when you expect it to. In Pokemon towns, the repetition runs even deeper. Sidewalks curve around town squares in the same gentle arc. Fences repeat their white picket pattern from house to house to house. Rooftops echo one another's angles, each one red-tiled, each one sloping at the same degree. And you, walking through these towns, you begin to anticipate. You know that after this house will come another house just like it. You know that the path will curve here and straighten there. The world becomes predictable, and prediction becomes peace. There is no need to stay alert. No need to brace for the unexpected. The town will be what it has always been. The paths will lead where they have always led. Sink back down now into SpongeBob's Bikini Bottom. Watch the bubble trails. They rise from chimneys, from exhaust pipes, from the mouths of characters speaking underwater. Each bubble is round and gleaming, catching light the same way every time. They rise in soft loops, drifting upward in spirals that mirror one another. One bubble trail looks like the last bubble trail looks like the next. And this sameness, this visual echo, it creates a rhythm. Your eyes can follow the bubbles without effort. Up and up and up in their lazy helixes. The motion becomes hypnotic, becomes something you don't have to think about but can simply watch. Simply rest inside. Choral patterns repeat too. The same clusters of pink and purple appear in the background of scene after scene. The same branching shapes. The same rounded formations. The kelp sways in the same direction, bends at the same places. When the camera moves through Bikini Bottom, when it drifts past market stalls and pineapple houses and Easter Island heads, you see these patterns cycling through. The coral here. Yes, you've seen that coral. The kelp there. Familiar kelp. And each return is not a failure of imagination but a gift. A small ritual. the world showing you that it remains consistent, that it will not surprise you with sudden changes, that you can trust it to stay soft, to stay gentle, to keep drifting in those same comfortable loops. Look up now at Dexter's constant soft blue skies. Every episode, every scene that takes place outdoors, the sky is the same pale, restful blue. Not the harsh blue of midday, not the deep blue of evening, just this one perfect shade, like looking up through thin curtains on a sunny morning. And scattered across that blue, repeating cloud puffs, small white shapes, rounded, soft-edged, they appear in the same pattern. 3 clouds arranged like this, 2 clouds arranged like that. The pattern repeats so often that you stop seeing individual clouds and start seeing the idea of clouds. The suggestion of a peaceful day. The promise that the sky will always be this gentle, this unchanging, this safe. The clouds never darken. They never gather into storms. They simply exist, suspended in their soft blue field, returning again and again like a refrain in a lullaby. And each time you see them, each time that familiar pattern appears, your mind relaxes a little more, because it knows. It knows the sky will not betray you. It knows the day will stay mild. Turn your attention now to Townsville, to those rounded rooftops that dot the skyline. Each one curves in the same gentle dome, each one painted in soft pastels, mint greens and pale pinks and dusty blues. They appear in the background of nearly every outdoor shot. A cluster of rooftops here, a row of rooftops there, always the same shapes, always that comforting roundness. Your eye learns to expect them, learns to look for them, and when they appear, when you catch sight of those familiar domes, there is a small satisfaction. Quiet, yes. The world is as it should be. And the lampposts, Townsville's lampposts are everywhere, lining streets, standing at intersections, marking park paths. They are tall and slender, painted in warm yellows or soft whites, each one the same height, each one topped with the same simple globe of light. You see them again and again, in the foreground, in the background, always present, always steady. They become part of the visual language of the town, part of what makes Townsville feel like itself. And each time one appears, each return of that familiar shape, it is a small ritual, a quiet acknowledgement that you are still in the same place, still held by the same gentle world. This is what repetition offers. Not boredom, not emptiness, but the deep comfort of pattern, the relief of knowing what comes next. The mind does not have to work, does not have to analyze or anticipate or protect, can simply rest. It can follow the sidewalks and bubble trails and cloud puffs and rooftops through their gentle cycles, can let go of surprise, let go of vigilance, let go of the need to stay alert. Breathe into the pattern. Let it hold you. Let the same shapes return again and again until they become less like images and more like the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Steady, reliable, soft, known. Watch color shift now into calm. Let your attention rest on hue and tone, on the way certain shades can change the speed of time itself. Notice how color is not decoration but a kind of instruction, a gentle hand guiding you towards stillness. Begin with amber window glows, those rectangles of light that appear in evening scenes, in townscapes settling toward night. The amber is not bright. It does not demand your attention. It simply exists, warm and steady, like the light from a candle that has been burning for hours. This color carries weight. It carries the feeling of being inside while the world outside grows dark, of being safe, of being home. The amber holds you. It makes the window itself seem less like glass and more like a soft boundary between day and rest. And peach gradients. Watch how they appear across walls. across skies at the edge of sunset, peach blending into pale orange, orange softening into cream. These gradients move so slowly you can barely see where one color ends and another begins. They make afternoons feel like a long exhale, like that moment when you finally sit down after hours of standing. When your shoulders drop, when your breath deepens. The peach does not energize. It does not brighten the world into urgency. It mellows everything it touches. It turns corners soft. It makes hard surfaces seem almost pillowy. You look at a wall washed in peach and feel your own body relax in response. Move into Studio Ghibli watercolor washes now. Let yourself see how color is layered there. How greens are not just green but 5 greens, 10 greens, each one transparent, each one settling over the last like veils. The darkest green at the base of a hill, lighter greens climbing upward, and at the very top, where the grass meets sky, a green so pale it is almost white, and woven through these greens, golds. The gold of sunlight, the gold of wheat, the gold of afternoon warmth captured in paint and spread across fields. These colors do not stay separate. They bleed into one another. They breathe together. When you look at these fields, you are not looking at static images but at something living, something that inhales greens and exhales golds. The watercolor wash allows this. The transparency, the layering, creates depth without weight, creates movement without urgency. Shift now to Rugrats' late afternoons, to those scenes bathed in buttery yellows. The yellow is rich but not harsh. It has cream in it. It has softness. It spreads across living room walls and kitchen floors like actual butter melting, slow and even and impossibly smooth. And beside this yellow, soft lavenders. Purple so gentle it barely registers as color at all. It hides in shadows. It tints the spaces where light does not quite reach. The lavender cools the warmth of the yellow just enough to keep the room from feeling too bright, too awake. Together these colors create a specific time of day. Not quite evening but no longer afternoon. That in-between hour when the light is kind. When everything looks softer than it did at noon. When even ordinary rooms seem touched by something tender. Travel to Pokemon villages now. See how they are rimmed with honeyed sunlight. The light does not fall evenly. Concentrates at edges. At the rim of a roof, the edge of a fence, the outline of a tree, and the color it makes. Honey. That deep golden amber that seems thick enough to pour. This light does not illuminate so much as it gilds. It turns ordinary structures into something precious. But quietly, without fanfare, a village rimmed in honeyed light does not shout its beauty. It simply rests there, glowing gently, waiting for you to notice how the sun has turned every edge into something worth watching. The honey color makes time feel slower, makes the sun seem reluctant to set, makes the whole village feel preserved in amber, in a single perfect moment that will not fade. Descend again into SpongeBob's underwater world. Notice the diffused turquoise that fills every frame. This is not the bright turquoise of tropical shallows. This is something softer, something filtered through depth and distance. It is the color of water that has traveled down through many feet of ocean, that has been touched and changed by that journey. The turquoise mimics a shallow, sleepy sea, the kind of water you might float in without effort, where the temperature is exactly right, where you could close your eyes and trust the water to hold you. This color fills Bikini Bottom like atmosphere. It is everywhere. It tints the coral and the kelp and the buildings and the sky. Yes, even the underwater sky is turquoise. And because it is everywhere, because you can never escape it, it becomes the baseline, the default. Your eyes adjust to it completely, and once they do, Once you stop noticing the turquoise as a color and start experiencing it as a medium, everything slows, everything softens. You are inside the color now, swimming through it, breathing it, and it asks nothing of you except to let it hold you suspended. All of these choices, amber and peach and layered greens and buttery yellows and honeyed golds and diffused turquoise, they are choices that slow focus, that teach the eye not to dart and scan but to rest and receive. When colors are this soft, when they blend this gently, there is no single point that demands attention, no bright spot that pulls your gaze. Instead, your focus can spread, can diffuse, can become as soft as the colors themselves. And the edges. Notice how these colors soften edges. In harsher palettes, in brighter schemes, objects stand separate, distinct. But here, in these amber glows and watercolor washes, edges blur slightly. One shape melts into the next. A building becomes part of the sky it sits against. A tree becomes part of the field it grows from. Everything connects. Everything breathes together. And your mind, freed from the work of separating and categorizing, freed from the effort of keeping everything distinct, your mind can finally rest. Let the colors wash over you now. Let the amber glow. Let the peach gradient. Let the layered greens and buttery yellows and honeyed light and diffused turquoise become more than things you see. Let them become something you feel, something that slows your pulse, something that softens your thoughts, something that makes this moment, right now, feel like a long, peaceful exhale. Drift along bridges now. Let yourself move slowly across wood and stone, over water that barely ripples. These are not grand structures, not monuments, just small bridges, quaint and quiet, built at human scale. Picture wooden railings under your hands, smooth from years of touch, painted white or left natural, the grain visible, the texture honest. The railings run along both sides of the bridge, steady and waist-high, inviting you to pause mid-crossing, to lean gently and look down at what flows beneath. The wood is warm even in evening air. It holds the memory of sunlight. Flower boxes rest at intervals along these railings. Simple wooden boxes, painted to match or deliberately mismatched, holding geraniums or petunias or small trailing vines. The flowers are not dramatic. They do not burst with color. They simply grow, softly, adding small dots of pink or red or purple to the bridge's gentle line. The flowers nod slightly. They are peaceful company. They ask nothing. They simply bloom in their boxes, tended by someone who cares enough to water them, to deadhead the spent blossoms, to keep this small beauty alive. The bridges arch over calm waterways, streams that move without hurry, canals that reflect the sky in still, unbroken stretches. The water beneath is never turbulent, never loud. It flows with the quietest whisper, or does not flow at all, simply rests there like a mirror laid flat. You can see the bridge's reflection in the water. The arc doubled. The flower boxes echoed upside down. And this doubling, this symmetry, it deepens the piece. It makes the world feel balanced, complete. Cross the bridge now and find yourself in a little plaza. A small open space rimmed by buildings that lean close but not too close. The plaza is paved in cobblestones or worn bricks, uneven enough that you can feel each step, smooth enough that walking is easy. Around the edges, lanterns. Not electric lights but something gentler. Lanterns hanging from hooks. Lanterns sitting on low posts, each one glowing with warm yellow light. The kind of light that flickers very slightly, that breathes almost. The lanterns do not illuminate the plaza brightly. They merely suggest its shape. They mark its boundaries. They create small pools of warmth in the larger darkness. And benches, Several benches scattered through the plaza. Wooden benches with simple backs. Metal benches painted dark green. Each one waiting for someone to sit. You can imagine resting there, watching the lantern light, listening to the quiet. The benches face different directions. Some look toward the center of the plaza. Some face outward, toward the surrounding buildings, toward the windows glowing softly in upper floors. These benches have been sat on countless times. They know the shape of rest. They are ready to hold you whenever you are ready to be held. The plaza is not empty, but it is not crowded. A few people move through, slowly, their footsteps soft on stone. Someone sits on one of the benches, just a silhouette in lantern light. Someone else crosses from one side to the other, in no particular hurry. The plaza breathes with quiet life, with the kind of activity that does not disturb but rather deepens the sense of peace. You are not alone here, but you are not intruded upon either. Shift now into different light, into Batman's world where Art Deco shapes rise against night skies. These are buildings of geometric grace, strong vertical lines, stylized curves and angles, ziggurat steps climbing toward rooftops. In daylight, these shapes might feel bold, assertive, but here, softened by diffused moonlight, they become something else entirely. The moon hangs behind thin clouds. Its light spreads rather than beams. It touches the Art Deco facades gently, illuminating edges, leaving recesses in shadow. The buildings glow very faintly, like they are lit from within by something dim and patient. And the docks, misty docks stretching out into dark water. Wooden planks weathered gray, pilings wrapped in old rope. The mist moves across the water in slow sheets, obscuring and revealing, turning the far shore into suggestion rather than certainty. These docks feel like quiet waterfront retreats, like places where the city's urgency cannot reach. You could stand at the end of a dock, mist surrounding you, and feel held by the softness of it. The way the mist muffles sound, the way it makes the world smaller, more intimate. The water laps gently against the pilings. The wood creaks under your weight. But these are not troubling sounds. They are the sounds of something old and stable, something that has been here and will remain here, something you can trust. The docks are mostly empty. A few crates stacked near a warehouse, a coil of thick rope, a single lamp hanging from a post, its light barely reaching through the mist. This emptiness is not loneliness. It is spaciousness. It is the gift of room to breathe, to be alone with the water and the mist and the distant glow of the city beyond. Return now to lit spaces, to markets and corner shops that keep gentle lights alive. Even in the deepest night, even when most of the world has gone dark, these small businesses remain awake. A market with its door propped open, warm light spilling onto the sidewalk. Inside, shelves lined with simple goods, bread, fruit, canned items. A shopkeeper behind a counter, reading or arranging stock, moving slowly through the quiet hours. The light from the shop is not bright enough to banish the night. It merely carves out a small island, a place where someone could step in from the darkness and find warmth, find life continuing gently. Corner shops with their windows glowing, painted signs hanging above doors, a cafe with a few tables visible through glass. Perhaps one person sits inside, a cup before them, a book open. The light inside is amber, steady. It does not flash or flicker with urgency. It simply stays, marking this corner as a place of refuge. A place where the night is held at bay not through force but through gentle persistence. These markets and shops are small islands of activity in a sea of night. They do not try to conquer the darkness. They exist within it. They make peace with it. They offer just enough light, just enough warmth to remind you that even in the quietest hours, even when the world seems asleep, there are still places awake, still lights burning, still doors you could walk through if you needed to. And knowing this, knowing these islands exist, you can rest more deeply in the darkness between them. Because the darkness is not empty. It is simply the space between small, steady lights. The space where night does its gentle work. Where the world rests and breathes and prepares for morning. Walk these bridges. Sit in these plazas. Stand on these misty docks. Pass by these lit windows. And feel how each space offers its own particular quiet. Its own invitation to pause. To notice. To let the night hold you while small lights keep their patient watch. Lean into micro-movement now. Into the smallest signs of life. The gestures so subtle you might miss them if you were moving too quickly. But you are not moving quickly. You are here. You are watching. And in the watching, these tiny movements become everything. Picture ant trails in a backyard. A thin line of ants moving through grass. Each ant no bigger than a seed. The line curves gently, follows some invisible map written in scent. The ants loop through the grass blades, over small pebbles, around a dandelion stem. They move in single file, one behind the next behind the next. The motion is constant but never frantic. Each ant walks at the same steady pace. The trail itself seems to pulse very gently, like a vein carrying something vital through the green world of the lawn. You could watch this trail for minutes, for hours, and it would not change. It would simply continue, looping, carrying, moving in its patient line. The repetition is hypnotic. One ant, another, the same motion over and over, like a breathing rhythm, in and out, in and out. The ants do not hurry. They know where they are going. They trust the trail. Look now at faint steam rising from manholes. The steam curls upward, a thin white ribbon against brick walls. It rises slowly, twisting as it climbs. The movement is so gentle you almost wonder if you are imagining it. But no, it is there. The steam unfurls. It spreads as it rises. By the time it reaches shoulder height, it has thinned to almost nothing. Just a shimmer in the air, a hint of warmth made visible. The steam keeps coming, not in bursts but in a steady, quiet exhale. The manhole breathes. The underground world beneath the street sends up its warm breath. And against the rough texture of brick, against the solidity of stone and mortar, this soft white curl becomes something you could watch endlessly. It never does the same thing twice. Each spiral is slightly different, but the pattern remains. The rhythm remains. Rising, curling, fading, rising again. Distant buses move through the soundscape. You do not see them. You only hear them, or rather, you feel them. A soft white noise at the edge of hearing. The low rumble of an engine several blocks away. The hiss of air brakes. The faint whine of wheels against pavement. These sounds do not intrude. They settle into the background. They become part of the texture of the world. The buses come and go in their routes. Regular. Predictable. Their sounds overlap and blend until you are no longer hearing individual vehicles but rather the general hum of a city breathing. Of movement continuing somewhere out of sight. It is comforting, this distant activity. It means the world is functioning, but it is far enough away that you do not have to participate. You can simply rest in the knowledge that life continues, that the buses run their routes, that people move through the night, and none of it requires anything from you. Look toward the bioluminescent plankton now. Imagine them in water, or perhaps in the wooden planks of an old dock. Some strange, impossible glow soaked into the grain. The light pulses slowly, brighter, dimmer, then on again. The rhythm is like breathing, like a heartbeat slowed to something dreamlike. The glow is blue-green, pale, ethereal. It does not illuminate much. It simply marks presence. I am here. I am alive. The pulse is not mechanical. It has variation. Sometimes a little faster. Sometimes a pause before the next pulse. This irregularity makes it feel organic, natural, something living rather than something made. You could sync your own breath to it. Watch the glow brighten as you inhale. Watch it dim as you exhale. The bioluminescence becomes a guide, a gentle metronome set to the pace of rest. Window bubbles in underwater buildings pulse the same way. Small round windows glowing faintly. The light inside waxes and wanes. Perhaps someone is moving past a lamp. Perhaps the current shifts something inside. The bubbles of light pulse. They breathe, all of them at their own pace, but somehow, together, they create a larger rhythm. A symphony of small lights growing bright and soft and bright again. The repetition layers, overlaps, and in that layering you find something that feels like the breath of the ocean itself. The slow tidal rhythm, the ancient patience of water. Feel Studio Ghibli wind now. It moves through rice stalks in a vast field. The stalks bend, all of them together. A wave of motion rippling across the field from one side to the other. The rice is green, almost yellow-green, and when it bends the color shifts slightly. The undersides of the stalks catching light differently. The wind passes, the stalks straighten, then the wind returns and they bend again. This movement is constant but not chaotic. It follows the wind's own rhythm. Gust, pause, gust. The rice field becomes a living thing, a creature that breathes with the air. You can almost hear it, the soft whisper of thousands of stalks brushing against one another. A sound like paper, like silk, like something too gentle to have a proper name. In Bikini Bottom the kelp rustles, long ribbons of green and brown swaying in the current. The rustle is not loud. It is the sound of plant against plant, of flexible things moving through water. The kelp does not resist the current. It moves with it, bends with it, and in that bending, that rustling, there is a constant soft percussion, a shushing sound, a sound that asks you to be quiet, to listen more closely. The kelp forests are full of this sound, layer upon layer of rustling. Some kelp close by, some kelp far away, all of it moving at slightly different speeds, responding to slightly different currents. But together it creates a texture, a blanket of sound you could wrap yourself in. And in Dexter's suburb, barely audible hums. The hum of power lines overhead, the hum of a streetlight, the hum of a refrigerator through an open window. These sounds exist right at the threshold of hearing. You might not notice them if you were not paying attention, but they are there, constant, steady. They vibrate at frequencies that settle into your bones, that remind you of electrical life, of systems running quietly in the background, of the hidden machinery that keeps the suburban world functioning. The hums do not change. They do not rise or fall. They simply exist. A baseline, a drone, and against that drone, all other sounds become more noticeable. Cricket, a distant voice, the rustle of leaves. The hum holds the silence together. It makes the quiet feel full rather than empty. All these movements, all these sounds, they layer together. The ant trails and steam and distant buses and pulsing lights and wind through rice and rustling kelp and barely audible hums. They do not compete. They do not overwhelm. They simply coexist. Each one moving at its own pace. Each one contributing its own small rhythm. And together, woven together, they make the world feel alive. Alive but unhurried. Alive but gentle. The world breathes. The world hums. The world moves in tiny increments. And you, watching, listening, you can feel your own rhythms slowing to match. Your breath finding the pace of the pulsing lights. Your heartbeat settling into the rustle of kelp. Your thoughts becoming as slow and steady as ants walking their looping trail through grass. Rest here, in the micro-movements, in the barely visible signs of life. Let them remind you that aliveness does not require speed, that presence does not require noise, that the world is always breathing, always moving, always alive, even in its quietest moments, especially in its quietest moments. Let the world slide toward night now. Let the day soften and release its hold. There is no sudden shift, no abrupt darkening, only the gradual easing of light, the quiet transition from afternoon to dusk to the deep blue hour when artificial lights begin their work. Porch lights click on, one at a time, not all at once but in sequence, as if the neighborhood is waking to a different kind of consciousness. You hear the click, a small mechanical sound, definite, and then the light appears, yellow warm, glowing beside a door, illuminating a small concrete square, a welcome mat, potted fern. The light does not reach far, just to the edge of the porch, just enough to say, here is home, here is where you return. Another porch light clicks on down the street, then another across the way. The lights multiply slowly, marking houses, marking safe places. They are not bright enough to banish the growing darkness. They simply punctuate it. They place small warm periods at intervals, creating a sentence of light that runs the length of the block. Air conditioner hums begin to spread. You hear one unit humming on the side of a house, its motor running steady, its fan turning. The hum is low, constant. It vibrates in a frequency that settles into your chest. Then you notice another air conditioner humming 2 houses down. And another. The hums layer over one another. They do not clash. They blend into a mechanical lullaby. A drone that speaks of cool air being moved, of machines doing their patient work, of systems that will run all night while people sleep inside. The hum becomes the sound of shelter, of temperature controlled and held, of small motors keeping their vigil. You could let this sound carry you. Let it become the baseline beneath your own breathing. Let it hum you slowly toward sleep. Street lamps paint pools of warmth now. They stand tall on their poles, evenly spaced down the block. As the darkness deepens, their light becomes more visible, more necessary. Each lamp creates a circle of illumination beneath it. The light is amber, sodium warm. It falls on pavement and sidewalk and grass. It creates islands of visibility in the growing dark. The pools do not quite touch one another. Between each pool, a space of shadow. But the shadow is not threatening. It is simply the natural rhythm. Light, dark, light, dark. Walking beneath these lamps, you move from warmth to shadow to warmth again. The pattern is soothing. The regularity is kind. The street lamps have done this every night for years. They know their job. They will stay lit until morning comes to relieve them. Power lines trace overhead. Thick black cables strung from pole to pole. Against the darkening sky, they become more visible, more graphic. Each line a dark stroke against blue-gray dusk. The poles stand at regular intervals, their shapes repeating down the block. Pole, line, pole, line. It is a visual lullaby, a pattern your eye can follow without effort. The lines dip slightly between poles, a gentle curve, then rise to the next connection point. This repetition, this tracing of infrastructure, it creates a kind of music, silent music, the music of things built to last, of systems that connect house to house to house. You follow the lines with your eyes and feel your thoughts becoming similarly linear. Simple. Following one thing to the next to the next. No need to jump or skip. Just trace the lines. Follow them home. Look at windows now. As the darkness outside deepens and the lights inside grow brighter, the windows become something more complex. They reflect. The glass holds two images at once. You can see into the room, see the lamp on the table, see someone moving past. But you can also see the reflection of the street behind you, the porch light across the way, the shape of a tree, the soft glow of the sky. These images overlap, interior and exterior held in the same pane of glass. The double image is soft. Neither layer is completely clear. They merge. They create something dreamlike, something that exists between inside and outside, between private and public, between the warm lit room and the cooling night air. You could stand before such a window and lose yourself in the layering, in the gentle confusion of what is real and what is reflection. Both are real. Both exist in the same moment. The window holds them together without choosing between them. Notice vending machines now, glowing in the darkness. Their fronts are lit, bright panels displaying drinks or snacks. In daylight, these machines are mundane, utilitarian. But now, in the sliding dark, they become something else. They become friendly beacons, small lighthouses. You can see them from down the block. Their blue-white glow steady and sure. They mark corners. They mark the fronts of closed shops. They say, here is something still awake, still offering, still available. The machines hum too, a deeper hum than the air conditioners, the sound of refrigeration, of compressors working. But the hum is not unpleasant. It adds to the layered drone of the night, and the light they cast. It creates a small pool on the sidewalk. Just enough to see by if you need to. Just enough to make the corner feel less empty. The vending machines do not demand attention. They do not flash or beep. They simply exist, glowing gently, waiting patiently, friendly in their simple function. Dim kiosks appear too, closed for the night but still lit. A newsstand with its metal shutter half lowered and a single bulb burning inside. A ticket booth empty of people but its window still glowing. A food cart covered for the night. A string of small lights wrapped around its frame. These kiosks are not trying to attract customers. Not now. The lights they keep are just enough to maintain presence, to mark their place, to promise they will return tomorrow. The dim glow is comforting. It suggests continuity. It suggests that this corner, this spot, will remain itself. That when morning comes the shutter will rise and the kiosk will wake and life will continue as it always has. But for now, in the night, the kiosks rest, and their small lights keep watch while they do. The world has slid into night now. Not fallen, not collapsed. Slid, gently, the way you might slide into a warm bath. The transition is complete but not jarring. The porch lights and street lamps and vending machines and dim kiosks, they hold the darkness at bay without fighting it. They make peace with the night. They offer just enough light to navigate by, just enough warmth to feel safe. And the hums, the mechanical lullabies, they fill the air with a sound that says, rest now. The machines will keep running. The lights will stay on. You are held. You are safe. You can let go. Breathe into the night. Let it hold you. Let the pools of warmth and the soft double images and the friendly beacons guide you deeper into rest. The world has done its work. The day is complete. And now, in the gentle darkness, you can finally sleep. Savor twilight now. This is the hour between hours. Not day, not yet fully night. A time that belongs to neither but holds pieces of both. The sky has deepened. The blue has grown richer, darker, becoming indigo, a color so beautiful it almost aches to look at. The indigo spreads across the entire dome of sky, even and complete, a ceiling painted in the softest darkness. And piercing this indigo, fireflies, slow fireflies drifting through the air. Their lights blink on. A small yellow-green spark. It holds for a moment, a single heartbeat, then fades to black. The firefly drifts onward in darkness. Then somewhere else, another light. On. Hold. Off. The fireflies do not hurry. They meander through the twilight air as if they have all the time in the world. And perhaps they do. Perhaps twilight stretches longer than we think. Long enough for these small lights to write their patient messages. Long enough to watch each one appear and disappear and appear again. The fireflies are scattered through space. Some close, some far, some high above your head, some hovering near the grass. Together they create a field of intermittent light, a constellation that shifts and breathes, that never looks the same from one moment to the next but somehow always feels familiar. Soft lantern halos glow in the distance. The lanterns themselves are small, simple paper or glass, but the light they cast, the halo that surrounds each flame, that is generous. The halo extends outward in a perfect circle, soft-edged, glowing. Where the light is brightest at the center it is almost white. Then it shifts to pale yellow, then to gold at the edges. And beyond the gold, the halo fades gradually into the indigo of twilight. There is no hard line between light and dark. Only this gentle gradient, this slow dissolution. The lanterns hang from posts or sit on tables or float somehow in the air. Each one creates its own small world of warmth. And when you have many lanterns, when they dot a garden or line a path, their halos overlap. They create layers of soft light, transparencies laid one over another. And in those overlapping spaces the light becomes something even more tender, even more welcoming. Studio Ghibli's twilight arrives with deep indigos meeting warm ochres. The sky is layered now. At the horizon, where the sun has just slipped away, ochre lingers, burnt orange, rust, the warmth of day not quite willing to leave. This ochre glows. It illuminates the bottoms of clouds. It silhouettes distant trees and hills. But above, climbing upward, the ochre cools. It shifts through amber into purple into that deep, deep indigo. The meeting place between these colors is not a line but a gradation. A slow blending that takes up a third of the sky. You could watch this transition and never pinpoint exactly where ochre becomes indigo. It simply happens. The way breath becomes exhalation. The way waking becomes sleep. And beneath this sky, fields and paths rest in the in-between light. Not bright enough to see detail. Not dark enough to hide completely. Everything exists in suggestion, in silhouette, in the gentle ambiguity of twilight. Pokemon lanterns appear along village paths. Round paper lanterns hanging from wooden frames. Each one glowing with warm yellow light. The paper is slightly translucent. You can almost see the bulb or candle inside. Almost but not quite. The lanterns hang at regular intervals. They mark the path clearly. But their real gift is not illumination. It is the halos they create. Each lantern surrounded by its own soft sphere of light. The halos hang in the twilight air like small planets. Like small suns gone gentle and kind. As you walk beneath them you pass through these spheres. You are bathed in warmth. Then you move into the space between lanterns, into cooler air, into the indigo that waits patiently between each light. Then warmth again. The rhythm of walking becomes the rhythm of passing through light and shadow, through warmth and coolness, through visibility and mystery. And this rhythm, this gentle oscillation, it calms something deep inside. It makes walking feel less like traveling and more like breathing. Look toward SpongeBob's pineapple house. The windows are twinkling now. Small square windows cut into the orange fruit-shaped walls. The light inside flickers very gently. Not the harsh flicker of malfunction, but the soft flicker of something alive. Of a fire burning. Of a lamp with a flame that moves. The twinkling is irregular. Sometimes a window brightens. Sometimes it dims. Sometimes it holds steady for several moments before changing. The windows seem to communicate with one another. One twinkles and then another answers. The pineapple house becomes a lantern itself. A large, whimsical lantern sitting on the ocean floor. And around it, other houses with their own twinkling windows. Squidward's Easter Island head. Patrick's Rock with a single small window glowing. Sandy's dome with its soft light diffused through glass and water. Each structure adds its own pattern of light to the twilight. Each one twinkles at its own pace, and together they create a neighborhood of gentle light, of homes coming alive as darkness falls, of warmth being kept and shared. Twilight is not an ending. It is important to understand this. Twilight is not the death of day. It is a gentle folding inward, a gathering. The world draws itself closer, pulls its light inward to where it is needed most. To windows, to lanterns, to fireflies and pineapple houses. The big light, the sun's overwhelming brightness, it has gone. But little lights remain. And these little lights are enough. More than enough. They become punctuation marks in a long, patient sentence. Each firefly a comma. Each lantern a semicolon. Each twinkling window a gentle ellipsis that says, there is more. There is always more. But rest now. Rest here in the pause. The sentence of twilight does not rush toward its period. It unfolds slowly, takes its time. It lingers on each phrase, each clause. It allows silence between the punctuation marks. Space to breathe. Space to absorb what has come before. And you, moving through this twilight, you are part of the sentence too. You are one more mark of light in the gathering dark. One more small glow. One more gentle presence. The indigo deepens even as you watch. But the deepening is so gradual you cannot catch the moment of change. You only notice, after some unmeasured time, that the sky is darker now than it was, that the little lights shine more insistently, that the halos have grown more defined against the increasing dark. But there is no alarm in this darkening, no fear, only the patient understanding that night will come fully when it is ready. And until then, until that final folding, there is this sacred in-between, this twilight, this time of small lights and soft halos and colors that refuse to choose between warmth and coolness, between day and night, between here and somewhere else. Savor it. Hold it gently in your attention. Let the fireflies write their slow messages. Let the lanterns cast their generous halos. Let the indigo sky hold you beneath its deepening dome. This is twilight. This is the long, patient sentence that asks nothing of you except to be read slowly, to be felt, to be allowed to unfold at its own pace, in its own time, with all the gentleness it has gathered from the day that came before and all the peace it promises to the night that waits ahead. Listen to true night ambience now. Let the sounds of deep night surround you. The world has fully crossed into darkness. The twilight has completed its gentle folding. And now the night speaks in its own language. A language of water and distance and creatures that move only when the sun has gone. Rain traces thin lines under lamplight. You can see each drop as it falls through the cone of light cast by a street lamp. The drops are individual, separate. each one a thin silver line drawn quickly from darkness to pavement. They fall at angles. Blown slightly by wind, you cannot feel from where you stand. Some drops catch more light than others. Some glint brightly. Some are barely visible. Just a suggestion of movement. The rain is steady but not heavy. Not a downpour but a patient falling. The kind of rain that will continue for hours. That has no need to rush or intensify. It simply is. Falling. Tracing its thin lines. Over and over. Countless lines. An infinite sketch being drawn and redrawn on the night air. The pavement below is wet. Slick. And in its wetness it becomes a mirror. Reflections stretch across the dark surface. The street lamp reflected. Its light doubled, reaching down into the ground as far as it reaches up into the air. Buildings reflect in distorted smears. Their windows become streaks of yellow and white. The reflections are not crisp. They waver. They shimmer as rain continues to fall. As each drop creates tiny ripples in the thin film of water covering the pavement. The reflections stretch and compress. They breathe with the rain. And walking through this landscape of water and reflection, you lose track of what is real and what is mirrored. The world above and the world below become equally present, equally valid. You exist between them, held in the space where reality and reflection meet. Distant foghorns call across water. Long, low tones, mournful but not sad. The foghorn bellows once. The sound carries across harbor. It rolls over water, over docks, over sleeping boats. It reaches you not as a sharp sound but as something that has traveled. Something that has been softened by distance and dampness. The foghorn calls again. The interval between calls is long. Long enough that you wonder if another will come. And then it does. The sound is a warning, a declaration. I am here. Be careful. Come no closer. But it is also companionship. A voice in the darkness saying, you are not alone. I keep watch. I remain awake while you rest. Harbor drips create their own percussion. Water dripping from the edge of a dock. From the rim of a boat. From chains hanging between pilings. Each drip falls into water below. Plip, plip, plip. The sound is small, intimate. You have to listen closely to hear it beneath the rain. But it is there, steady as a pulse. Each drip slightly different in tone depending on where it falls, how far it drops, what it strikes. Together the drips create a texture, a randomness that somehow forms pattern. They keep time in a way that refuses regularity, that insists on variation. And this variation, this refusal to be mechanical, makes the sound organic, natural, something you can trust because it does not try to be perfect. Slow train rumbles reach you from far away. You cannot see the train. You might not even be sure of the direction, but you feel it as much as hear it. A low rumble moving through the earth, through rails, through the foundations of buildings. The rumble builds slowly, grows. The train is approaching some distant crossing. The sound swells. Then it passes that invisible point and begins to fade. The rumble diminishes, softens, becomes uncertain, and then, gone. Silence returns. Or rather, the other sounds return to prominence. The rain, the harbor drips, the occasional foghorn. The train rumble comes perhaps every 20 minutes, or 30, or 40. Time becomes unreliable in true night. But when the rumble returns, you recognize it. Welcome it. Another marker. Another sign that the world continues its patient work even in darkness. The hush of nocturnal creatures settles over everything. Not silence, but something close. Crickets have slowed their songs. The frantic chirping of evening has mellowed into occasional long calls. Cricket here, another answering there. The space between their sounds is vast, is filled with listening. An owl calls once from a distant tree, a soft hoot that dissolves into the night almost as soon as it appears. Small creatures rustle in underbrush, mice, voles, creatures with no names doing the work of night creatures, foraging, moving carefully through darkness. Their sounds are tiny, a leaf disturbed, a twig brushed, but in the deep quiet of true night these tiny sounds carry. They become audible. They add to the texture of nocturnal life. The world has not stopped. It has only slowed, only softened, only shifted into its night self. In Bikini Bottom, those soft bubble pops keep time. They rise constantly, from chimneys and exhaust pipes and the mouths of sleeping fish. Each bubble ascends through water, growing slightly as pressure decreases. And at some point, near the surface or against a rock or for no reason you can see, the bubble pops, a small wet sound, delicate, like lips parting, like the smallest kiss. Pop. The sound is never loud, never harsh, just a gentle punctuation. And with so many bubbles rising, so many pops occurring, they create a constant backdrop, an ambient texture that fills the underwater night. Pop, 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 random but steady, keeping time with a clock that measures moments in bubble deaths, in small releases, in tiny dissolutions. In Gotham, the distant city score plays. You cannot identify individual instruments. You cannot hear distinct melodies. But somewhere out in the urban sprawl, music plays. A saxophone maybe, the rumble of bass, the suggestion of drums. The sounds blend together. They are absorbed by fog that rolls through streets, that softens every edge, that turns the night into something thick, something you could almost touch. The fog makes the music distant even if its source is near, makes everything feel farther away. The city score is not energizing. It does not call you toward it. It simply exists, a reminder that somewhere people are still awake, still creating, still moving through their nights. But here, where you stand, the fog has wrapped you in velvet, has separated you from all that, has given you permission to simply listen without needing to join. The fog is both blanket and wall, both comfort and boundary, and the music, filtered through this velvet fog, becomes a lullaby, becomes something meant to accompany rest rather than disturb it. And through all of this, through foghorns and harbor drips and train rumbles and bubble pops and distant music, the rain continues. The rain becomes the foundation, the steady, calming metronome for sleep. It never speeds up, never slows down, never stops. The rain is patient in a way that nothing else can be. It falls because falling is what rain does. It requires no motivation, no intention. It simply continues, drop after drop after drop, tracing its thin lines under lamplight, creating its infinite reflections, adding its soft percussion to all the other sounds of night. And this steadiness, this absolute reliability, becomes the thing you can rest against, can sink your breathing to, can allow to carry you deeper into the night. Let the rain count you down. Let each drop mark one moment closer to sleep. Let the foghorns call you toward dreams. Let the harbor drips remind you that small sounds can be enough. Let the train rumbles reassure you that the world continues even when you close your eyes. Let the nocturnal creatures move through their darkness while you move through yours. Let the bubble pops keep their gentle time. Let the fog wrap you in velvet. Let it all of it, become the ambience that holds you, that surrounds you, that fills the space between waking and sleep with something soft and patient and endlessly kind. The night is here, true night, and it is not empty. It is full of sound and rain and distance, full of small movements and patient rhythms, full of everything you need to finally let go. Notice how homes frame safety now. Notice the careful boundaries they create, the gentle ways they separate inside from outside, private from public, rest from world. These are not harsh divisions, not walls that reject or exclude, but soft edges that hold and protect. Picket fences stand in their familiar rows, white painted wood, each slat the same width, the same height, the tops cut into gentle points or rounded curves. The fence runs along the front of a yard, marking where property begins. But the fence is low, waist-high at most. You could easily step over it if you needed to, but you don't need to. The fence is not about keeping people out. It is about creating definition, about saying, here is a home. Here is a place that belongs to someone. Here is a boundary you can see and respect. The picket fence is permission to feel separate, to claim a small piece of earth and call it yours. And standing inside that boundary, looking out through the gaps between slats, you feel held. You feel like you have a place. Hedges do similar work, but with living green. They grow thick and full, shaped by careful pruning into rounded forms. The hedges line property lines, separate one yard from another. Their leaves are dark green, dense enough that you cannot see through them, but soft. If you brushed against a hedge, it would give, would bend slightly under your touch. The hedges are boundaries that breathe, that grow and change with seasons but maintain their essential purpose. They frame the home. They create a perimeter of living green that says, inside this circle there is rest. Inside this boundary there is safety. Look at thatched eaves now. Roofs covered in bundled straw or reed. The thatch is thick, layered in overlapping sections. Creates a roof with texture, with depth. And the eaves, the edges where roof overhangs wall, they extend outward generously. They create shelter, a space beneath where rain cannot reach, where sun cannot beat down directly. The thatched eaves are ancient technology. Simple, honest. They protect through mass and material rather than through complexity. And there is something deeply comforting in this, in knowing that above you, something as simple as dried grass is keeping you safe, keeping you dry, allowing you to rest beneath its patient cover. Rounded rooftops curve gently against the sky. No sharp peaks, no aggressive angles, just soft domes or gentle slopes that seem to embrace the space beneath them. These rooftops do not fight the sky. They nestle into it. They suggest that the home below is something tender, something that deserves to be cradled. The curves catch light beautifully, create gradients of shadow and brightness, make the home feel less like a structure and more like a presence, something alive in its own quiet way. Sheltered porches extend from front doors, roofs over wooden platforms, a few steps leading up, a railing to lean against. The porch is threshold space, not quite inside, not quite outside. It is the place where you pause before entering, where you might sit on a warm evening, where you can watch the street while remaining separate from it. The porch roof creates shade during the day, keeps rain off at night. The shelter it provides is both practical and symbolic. It says, even before you step inside, even here on the threshold, you are protected, you are covered, you are held. These boundaries, fences and hedges and eaves and rooftops and porches, they work together, they layer, they create rings of safety. The fence marks the outer edge. The hedge creates another boundary. The porch shelters the entrance. The roof covers everything. Each layer is another degree of protection. Another way the home says, here you are safe. Here you can let your guard down. Here you can rest. Step inside now. into rooms illuminated by a single lamp. The lamp sits on a side table, or on a desk, or beside a bed. It is the only light source in the room. Everything else is dark. The lamp creates a small pool of brightness, an island of light in a sea of shadow. And sitting in that pool, reading or simply being, you feel contained. The darkness beyond the lamp's reach is not threatening. It is simply other. It is the rest of the room taking its rest. Only this small circle needs to be lit. Only this space where you sit requires illumination. Everything else can remain in gentle darkness, can sleep while you remain awake. The single lamp makes the large room feel small, makes it feel manageable, intimate. It turns a space that might feel empty into a space that feels full, because the light has given you just enough to hold on to. Or perhaps the room is lit by pale TV glow. The television plays softly in the corner. This light is blue-white, flickering very gently with scene changes. The glow reaches across the room, touches the couch, climbs partway up the walls, but it does not fill the space completely. It leaves corners in shadow, leaves the ceiling in darkness. The TV glow is cooler than lamplight, more ethereal. It makes the room feel slightly unreal, like a space between waking and dreaming. People sit bathed in this glow, their faces lit from one side, their attention held by the moving images. But the glow itself, the quality of light it provides, that is what makes the room an island, what separates it from the night outside, what creates a boundary of soft blue light that holds everyone inside safe and together. Move to the stairwell now. In many homes, the stairs are lit by alternating light and shadow. A lamp at the bottom of the stairs, perhaps a night light plugged in halfway up, maybe a bathroom light at the top left on with the door cracked. These scattered sources create pattern. One step is illuminated. The next is in shadow. Another lit. Another dark. Climbing these stairs becomes a slow path. You move from light into darkness into light again. Your hand on the railing. Your feet careful on each tread. There is no hurry here. The alternating light asks you to take your time, to be deliberate, to notice each step. And this slowness, this careful ascent or descent, it becomes meditative. It becomes a transition not just between floors but between states, between waking and sleeping, between day and night, between the life downstairs and the rest upstairs. Step outside one more time, into the backyard, into the driveway. Notice how everything has been set to rest. Tools lean against the garage wall. A rake, a shovel, their handles crossed, their metal heads resting on concrete. They have done their work. They are done for the day. Toys are scattered but still. A ball sitting in grass. A toy truck abandoned mid-journey. A jump rope coiled on the patio. These toys are not being played with. They are waiting, resting until morning when small hands will claim them again. And bicycles leaning on kickstands, or leaning against each other, or hung on hooks in the garage, their tires still, their chains quiet. The bicycles have carried their riders through the day. Now they too rest. They wait for tomorrow. Everything has been put away, not necessarily put away neatly, not organized with precision, but put away in the sense of being done, of being set down, of being released from use. The tools and toys and bicycles all rest in their places. And this sense that everything has found its spot for the night, it creates enormous peace. It suggests that the work is complete, that play is over, that everyone and everything can now simply be still. The backyard and driveway in this resting state become extensions of the home's safety. They are not chaotic, not demanding. They are quiet spaces where things wait patiently for morning. where the fence and hedge continue their work of creating boundary, where the home's protection extends even to the objects that live outside its walls. Stand in this space now, in this framed safety. Feel the fence and hedge and roof all holding you. Feel the single lamp or TV glow creating islands of light. Feel the stairs offering their slow path. Feel the tools and toys and bicycles resting all around you. Everything set down. Everything safe. Everything exactly where it needs to be. And you too are exactly where you need to be. Inside this carefully framed safety. Inside this home that knows how to hold you. Inside boundaries that protect without confining. Inside light that illuminates without exposing. You are home. You are safe. You can rest now. Everything has been set to rest. And that includes you. Focus on tiny lights now. The smallest sources of illumination. The lights so modest they might be overlooked in busier hours. But here, in the depth of night, these tiny lights become everything. They are not dramatic. They do not announce themselves. They simply exist, steadily, patiently, and in their steady existence they make a promise. They promise continuity. Alarm clock numbers glow in the darkness of a bedroom. Red digits, or green, showing the hour and minutes in simple segmented shapes. The numbers are small, perhaps only an inch tall, but in the complete darkness of a sleeping room they are bright enough to see by. Bright enough to orient yourself if you wake in the night. The numbers change, slowly. 1 minute becomes the next. The colon between hours and minutes blinks on and off. On and off. A tiny pulse. A mechanical heartbeat. The alarm clock keeps time whether anyone watches or not. It maintains its count through all the hours of darkness. And knowing it is there, knowing those small red numbers are glowing steadily on the nightstand, creates a particular comfort. Time is being kept. The night has structure. Morning will come because the clock is counting toward it. The tiny glow of those numbers is a tether. A small light that connects you to the passage of time even as you try to slip free of time into sleep. Look toward windows now. Toward single desk lamps visible from the street. An upstairs window in an apartment building. The curtains are open or partially open. Inside, a desk lamp. Its shade directing light downward onto a surface you cannot see. Perhaps someone works there. Perhaps the lamp has simply been left on. It doesn't matter. What matters is the warm yellow glow. The small rectangle of light floating in the dark facade of the building. This light says, someone is here. Someone tends this place. Even in the deepest hours, someone keeps a lamp burning. The lamp is not bright enough to illuminate the whole room. Just a corner. Just a desk. But that small lit corner visible from outside. It becomes a beacon. A sign of habitation. Of ongoing life. You can walk past this building. This window with its single desk lamp. And feel less alone. Feel that you are not the only one awake. That somewhere in these stacked homes others keep their small lights burning too. Small neon vending glows pulse softly on empty street corners. The vending machine stands against a wall. This front panel lit. The neon, usually blue or pink or green, creates a halo around the machine. The light reflects off the glass front, off the pavement. It creates a small zone of color in the monochrome night. The machine hums its quiet hum, its compressor cycling on and off to maintain temperature. The neon does not flicker dramatically. It simply glows, constant, reliable. The machine is ready, ready to dispense a cold drink if anyone needs one, ready to offer its small service. And this readiness, this patient availability, it suggests that the night has not shut down completely, that some services continue, that some lights stay on, that you are not abandoned in the darkness. The vending machine does not judge what hour you come to it. It does not close, simply waits, glowing its small neon glow, offering its small comfort. A lone deli keeps its counter light on. The main lights are off. The open sign is dark. The door is locked. But inside, through the glass door or window, you can see the counter light. A fluorescent fixture over where the register sits, where sandwiches are made during the day. The light is white-blue, functional rather than warm, but it is on. It illuminates the empty counter, the stacks of napkins, the menu board on the wall behind. Perhaps a cat sleeps on the counter in a patch of this light. Perhaps the space is completely empty, but the light stays on. The owner or worker who locked up for the night left this one light burning. Perhaps for security. Perhaps out of habit. Perhaps because leaving one light on makes the place feel less abandoned, less lonely. The lit counter is a promise. This deli will open again. Morning will come and the door will unlock and the full lights will blaze and sandwiches will be made again. The night is just an intermission, just a pause. The counter light keeps watch until the day shift returns. These miniature beacons, alarm clocks and desk lamps and neon glows and counter lights, they say something important. They say someone tends the place. Even when the place seems empty, even when night has settled thick and heavy, someone has set these lights to stay on. Someone has decided that darkness should not be complete, that small lights should persist. And this tending, this care taken to leave lights burning, it is a form of continuity. Says we have not abandoned this. We will return. The night is temporary. The lights prove it. Their steadiness is what comforts most. These lights do not flicker with uncertainty. They do not dim and brighten randomly. They simply stay. The alarm clock numbers glow with the same intensity hour after hour. The desk lamp maintains its warm pool. The neon pulses its steady color. The counter light illuminates its empty counter without wavering. This steadiness is a quiet, parent-like comfort. It is the comfort of knowing someone is watching. Someone is maintaining. Someone has not gone to sleep and forgotten about you. The lights are like a parent who leaves a night light on in the hallway, who checks on you one more time before going to bed themselves, who remains somehow present even in their absence. The lights are deputies, stand-ins. They keep watch while the humans who set them rest. And because of these lights, because of their steady, patient glowing, you can breathe easier. You can let yourself relax into the night. You do not have to maintain vigilance. You do not have to keep yourself alert and watching. The lights are doing that work. The alarm clock is counting time. The desk lamp is marking habitation. The vending machine is standing ready. The deli counter is being illuminated. All of these small tasks are being performed. All of these small lights are being kept. And you are free to rest. Free to trust that continuity exists through the night. That the world's small systems continue their work. That morning will arrive on schedule because the alarm clocks are counting toward it. That you are not alone because the desk lamps glow in other windows. That comfort is available because the vending machines wait ready. That normalcy will return because the deli counters remain lit. The tiny lights make the night less frightening, less absolute. They puncture the darkness just enough. Create small holes through which you can glimpse the ongoing world. The world that does not stop just because most people sleep. The world that maintains itself through these small, faithful lights. These quiet promises. These miniature beacons that say, we are here. We remain. We will be here when you wake. Rest now. We are keeping watch. We will tend the night while you sleep. You are safe. You are held. You can let go. Breathe with the steady glow of the alarm clock. Rest in the knowledge of the desk lamp's vigil. Trust the neon's patient pulse. Believe the counter light's promise. Let these tiny lights be enough. Let them hold the darkness back just far enough. Let them create the small ring of continuity you need to finally, close your eyes and sleep. Pull back now. Rise slowly above the street. Above the single window with its desk lamp. Above the vending machine's small glow. Rise up and up until you can see more. Until the individual lights begin to form a pattern. Until the city reveals itself not as chaos but as design. As intention. As something beautiful in its repetition. See the rows of rows. Buildings lined up along streets. Streets running parallel to other streets. Each block a rectangle. Each rectangle stacked beside the next. From this height the grid becomes visible. The order underlying everything. And within this grid, lights. So many lights. They mark every corner. Every intersection. Every building. The lights are not random. They follow the pattern. They illuminate the structure. And the structure, the rows of rows, it holds everything together, creates a framework vast enough to contain all this life, all these small human moments, but organized enough that you can see it, can understand it, can rest your eyes on it without confusion. Windows like candles appear by the hundreds, by the thousands, small yellow rectangles floating in dark facades. From this height you cannot see into the rooms anymore, cannot make out furniture or people. You see only the light itself, each window a small flame, some brighter, some dimmer, but all glowing with that same warm yellow. The windows are scattered across the buildings in patterns determined by architecture and choice. Some buildings have windows in neat rows, others scatter them more randomly, but together, all together, they create a field of small lights. Constellation. The windows flicker very slightly. Someone walking past a lamp. Someone turning off a light in one room and turning on a light in another. These tiny changes ripple through the field, but the overall effect remains constant. The city glows with these small candle-like windows, and from this height, from this removed perspective, they are breathtaking in their quantity, in their gentle insistence on remaining lit. Streetlight pools step along sidewalks in perfect rhythm. Each pool of amber light evenly spaced from the last. The streetlights march down every street, defining the paths, marking the routes. From above you can see how the pools create dotted lines, how they trace the grid, how they make visible the invisible paths people walk during the day. The pools do not touch one another. There is darkness between each one, but the spacing is so regular, so reliable, that the darkness does not feel like absence. It feels like breath, like the necessary pause between heartbeats. The streetlights step along, one after another, and your eye can follow them for blocks, can trace entire routes through the city just by following the stepping stones of light. Traffic lights cycle slowly at intersections. Red, yellow, green, red again. From this height you can see many traffic lights at once. Watch them cycle through their patterns. Some intersections turn green north-south while others turn green east-west. The lights create a slow, coordinated dance. They are timed, synchronized. They speak to one another through invisible signals. And their cycling, their patient movement through the same sequence over and over, it creates rhythm, visual rhythm. The intersections pulse with color. Red holding, green releasing, yellow warning. The cycle repeats endlessly. And even though the streets below are nearly empty, even though few cars move through these late hours, the lights continue their work. They maintain their rhythm. They keep time for a city that sleeps. Rooftops form a calm skyline against the dark sky. From this elevated view you see them all. Flat roofs and peaked roofs, domed roofs and stepped roofs. They create an irregular horizon, a line that rises and falls gently as buildings of different heights stand beside one another. The rooftops catch ambient light, reflected glow from the street below, moonlight when clouds allow. They are dark shapes, darker than the sky, but not completely black. They have dimension, texture, and together they form something cohesive, a skyline that feels intentional even though it grew organically. Building by building, year by year, the calm skyline does not demand attention. It simply exists, caps the city. It creates an upper boundary, says, "This is how tall we grow. This is where we meet the sky." Look toward bridges now. They span rivers or valleys or rail yards. Their lights trace their structures. Small lights along railings, larger lights at towers. The lights create glowing lines suspended in darkness. And below each bridge, in the water or on the dark ground, reflections. The bridge lights doubled, stretched, rippling if there is any movement in the water. The reflections are not as bright as the originals. They are ghost images, echoes, but they add to the overall sense of light multiplying, of illumination being more generous than strictly necessary. Rivers reflect everything. The water's surface becomes a mirror. Every window, every street light, every traffic signal, every rooftop light, all of it reflected in the dark water. The river holds two cities, the real one above and the reflected one below. And the reflected city is softer, blurred slightly by water's movement. The lights smear into streaks. They shimmer. They dance in ways the fixed lights above cannot. The river doubles the light, makes the city feel twice as illuminated, twice as inhabited, twice as alive. Plazas open like breathing spaces in the dense grid. From above they appear as darker patches, open areas without buildings, but around their edges, lights, lampposts circling the plaza, lights from surrounding buildings facing inward. The plaza becomes a gathering place for light, a bowl that catches and holds the glow from all sides. And if there is a fountain in the plaza, if there is water, that water reflects too, creates another mirror, another doubling. The plaza breathes, inhales darkness, exhales light. All these elements, the rows of rows and window candles and streetlight pools and traffic lights and rooftops and bridges and rivers and plazas, they come together, they form a whole. And what becomes visible from this height is the pattern, the grand pattern, the way everything repeats, the way rhythms layer over rhythms, the slow cycling of traffic lights matching the slow pulse of streetlights coming on at dusk and going off at dawn, the repetition of windows, of buildings, of blocks, of streets. The pattern is not monotonous. It is comforting. It is the visual equivalent of a lullaby. And there are sounds too. Even from this height you can sense them. The tiny, steady sounds rising from below, the hum of streetlights, the distant rumble of a train, the soft hiss of tires on wet pavement, the gentle mechanical sounds of a city maintaining itself. These sounds layer together. They do not compete. They harmonize. They create a drone, a baseline, a frequency that underlies everything. And this frequency, this combined sound of 1,000 small sources, it is the city humming. The city hums in unison, not because anyone planned it, not because anyone is conducting, but because all these small systems, all these lights and sounds and rhythms, they find their own harmony. They settle into patterns that work together. The traffic light cycle, the street lights glow, the windows flicker gently, the rivers reflect, the bridges span, the plazas breathe, and all all of it, creates something larger than the sum of its parts. Creates a lullaby, a vast urban lullaby, a song sung by infrastructure and light and the patient persistence of human presence. From this height you can see it all, can hold the entire pattern in your vision at once, can understand that you are part of this, that your own window with its single lamp is one of those 1,000 candles, that your own breath is part of the city's breathing, that you are held within this pattern, cradled by this vast, gentle system that keeps its lights burning, that cycles its signals, that maintains its rhythms even while you sleep. The pattern holds you, the repetition soothes you, the slow rhythms match your slowing heart. The tiny steady sounds become the background against which you can finally release your own sounds, your own thoughts, your own need to remain alert. The city is humming, the lullaby is playing, and you can rest now. You can let the pattern hold you. Let the lights keep watch. Let the rhythms count time. Let the city hum you gently, gently, into sleep. Close now with a long, still image. Let everything settle into its final configuration. Let the movement slow even further, and further still, until there is almost no movement at all. Only the smallest changes. Only the gentlest transitions. The night has reached its deepest point, the hour when even the last wakeful souls begin to surrender to sleep. Watch the porch lights turning off, one by one, not all at once but in slow sequence. A porch light on the left side of the street goes dark. The yellow glow simply ends. The porch returns to shadow. A few minutes pass, or perhaps longer. Time has become unreliable, uncertain. Then another porch light across the way clicks off. Another small pool of warmth extinguished. Not violently, not with any drama. Simply off. Someone inside has decided it is time, has flipped the switch, has chosen darkness. The porch lights continue going out. One here, one there. Each disappearance barely noticeable on its own. But together, slowly, the street grows darker. The small constellations of porch lights thin. The gaps between remaining lights widen. And with each light that goes out, the night deepens. The permission to sleep spreads. If the porch lights are going dark, if even those patient sentinels are being released from duty, then surely everyone can rest now. Surely the watching can end. A final building stands in the distance. Most of its windows are already dark, have been dark for hours, but a few remain lit. Small yellow rectangles scattered across its facade. As you watch, as the long still moment extends, one of those windows goes dark, then another. The building is emptying of light, emptying of wakefulness. The people inside are finding their beds, are pulling blankets close, are closing their eyes. Another window darkens, and another, until finally, only one window remains lit. A single small glow. It holds for a long time, holds while you breathe, while you settle, while you let the stillness wrap around you. And then, that final window goes dark too. The building now holds only moonlight. The moon, pale and distant, casts its silver glow across the building's face. The moonlight is not warm like the window lights were. It is cool, remote, but it is enough, more than enough. The building's texture becomes visible in moonlight. The shadows of window frames, the subtle variations in the facade. The building is not abandoned. It is simply resting. Everyone inside is resting. And the moonlight, patient moonlight that has shone for billions of years, keeps its watch, asks nothing, provides its silver presence. The building breathes in moonlight, exhales silence, and stands peacefully in the deep night. Begin to pull back now, slowly, So slowly you barely notice the movement. The building grows smaller in your field of vision. Other buildings come into view beside it. Behind it, the perspective widens. More of the city becomes visible. More rooftops, more streets, more of those small, steady lights that have stayed burning. The street lights in their patient rows. The traffic signals cycling through their colors. The occasional lit window in buildings where someone cannot sleep or chooses not to. The city spreads out below. The grid becomes visible again. The pattern reveals itself once more. Pull back further, higher. The individual buildings lose their detail. They become shapes, dark forms punctuated by light. The streets become thin lines. The street lights become dots. Small amber dots stepping along in their endless rhythm. The city begins to look like something else, like a circuit board, like a constellation, like something both utterly human and somehow cosmic. The lights, all those small, steady lights, they surround you now, not pressing in but simply present, creating a field, an embrace of light that extends in all directions. You are surrounded by small, steady lights, held within their pattern, cradled in their gentle glow. The lights do not demand anything from you. They do not call for attention or action. They simply exist, marking the city, keeping their watch, maintaining their quiet vigil. And you, somewhere among those lights, somewhere held within that vast, gentle pattern, you are safe. You are part of something larger, something that breathes and hums and glows with patience. The view steadies, holds at this great distance. The city spread below like a living map. The lights twinkling very gently, some dimming, some brightening, but the overall pattern remaining constant, remaining steady. The image holds, holds, and in that holding there is no urgency, no need to move forward, no need to change or progress or resolve. Only this, only the long, still moment of seeing the pattern, of being held within it, of understanding that you are surrounded by care even when that care comes in the form of streetlights and traffic signals and the patient glow of distant windows. Rest now. The scenes will remain unchanged and gentle whenever you return. These neighborhoods, these streets and plazas and bridges, these tiny lights and soft sounds, they are not going anywhere. They will be here tomorrow night, and the night after. They will wait patiently for you. They will maintain their gentle presence. Nothing needs to be different. Nothing needs to be solved or understood or completed. You can simply rest. You can let your eyes close. You can let your breath deepen and slow. You can let yourself drift into the darkness that waits so patiently inside you. The world will keep its lights burning. The city will continue its quiet hum. The patterns will hold. And when you wake, if you wake, they will still be here, gentle, unchanged, ready to hold you again. But for now, right now, there is only this invitation, this permission, this gentle release. Sleep now. You are held. You are safe. You are surrounded by small, steady lights that ask nothing of you except to rest. So rest. Let go. Sleep.